All right, Joe, I was thinking about it. It's year number 11 for the Barracuda. That means you can go all the way back. Kansas City, Kentucky, Cleveland, Worcester. No AHL franchise or top affiliate, for that matter, in Sharks history has lasted now 11 years. I think this team's going to be here for a while with this beautiful facility. But going into another year, what kind of are your feelings? What's the thought process about this specific team going into another season with a lot of changes, a lot of new faces in the fold?
It's really a time that we've used training camp to take a look at, just a lot of young talent and a lot of new players in the organization just to see where they fit. I think there's great depth. I think there's great promise, but it's, still even to today, things are still unfolding.
Well, in hockey in particular, you see it a little bit in baseball too. These guys are drafted so young that you don't see them for a long time. You either send them back to their junior team or their college team. It takes a while for them to mature, and then their next step maybe is the AHL before the NHL, but you're starting to see some of the fruits of your labor with these young players. This is a really good young crop. We're seeing guys like Quentin Musty and Igor Chernyshov and Casper Halton and so on and so forth, the players that are joining your team. How excited are you guys about this crop of prospects that should be playing predominantly in the AHL this year?
Well, we're very excited, and as you said, there's really a lag time, especially with an 18-year-old draft. You just sit and wait. Players go back to junior, go back to college, quite a few of them, and now they're a little bit more aged and seasoned, and they come in here and ready to go in the American League, and we're very excited about seeing a lot of them for the first time, on an extended basis. And I think a lot of guys, it's not just about where they're at today, but I think there's going to be some very quick maturing throughout the year. So some players that you might see today, in October, might be totally different in January with that, 2-3 months of experience here.
Well, last year, some of the guys that drove the bus are no longer with the organization. Andrew Podorowski, incredible year, an all-star, obviously, AHL MVP. Your captain, Jimmy Schultz, no longer with the organization. He signed a 2-year deal with Vancouver. That's the nature of the beast in this league. There's a lot of turnover. Veteran players don't usually stick in one location for a long period of time. How do you see things playing out? Because you have brought in other faces, we'll dive into that a little bit. How do you see things playing out in terms of this crop and this particular group of players?
Well, I think again, it's going to be a process throughout the whole year. I think the team that you see today is not going to be the team that we're going to have at the end of the year, especially with the young talent, especially with new players. There's going to be some acclimation kind of going through. There'll be some ups and downs and everything else within there, but I think it's a pretty deep team. I think there's really good competition because I think a lot of these players know that they're really not that far away from the Sharks. A lot of guys had good training camps, and so I think there's a lot of internal competition, but you'll see an evolving team throughout the year.
Yeah, that's a great point. I want to dive into that as well. Training camp was highly competitive. That seemed to be one of the real points that the coaching staff and the organization wanted to make. We want a competitive training camp, but we want a physical training camp, a grueling training camp, and a lot of guys kind of rose their level of play. One player that comes to mind is Pavel Regenda. What a camp he put together with the big club. I think he opened a lot of eyes. Ryan Warsofsky at one point said, I wasn't really familiar with this guy, and he was one of, if not the best players in camp. So is that really exciting to see guys kind of elevate their game and rise to that competitive kind of level that you're looking for?
Well, absolutely, and the cool thing about that with Reggie is it started in the playoffs last year. We talked about how important the playoffs are for kind of stepping up a level and elevating your game, and Reggie in the playoffs last year was really good. Reggie and Giles, especially stood out being bigger guys and playing them. Regenda went on to play, for Slovakia in the World Championships, played very well. Brought that momentum into training camp, didn't skip a beat, and he is good all throughout camp.
It does seem like you guys have made a concerted effort, whether it's via the draft or even free agency. Patrick Giles is a great example. He came in, really fit a nice role with your AHL club, played well up in the NHL as well. But is that important for the organization to have a lot of meat on the bone, if you will, have bigger players that can handle the rigors of playoff time or even these long points in the season when things are getting drawn out, having big bodies? Is that important?
Oh, absolutely important, because then it allows you really to play against any opponent, and that's what you have to be ready to play against anybody. And as you can see, the Floridas and some of the teams around that are really hard and heavy. You have to be ready for them. And Giles and Regenda have that bigger body, and that helps. And you'll see some of the other guys that came in with Clayton and Huntington and LaBerge. They're also bigger players coming in, and it helps around some of our young talent and everything else too. But it never really hurts. They're a lot of players too that can play particular roles as they kind of move up and down the lineup.
Clayton has not played in the NHL. He's a right shot D, 6'2". He's got good size. In camp, he's been playing with Luca Cagnoni. That could certainly be a pair in the American Hockey League this year. But we talked a little bit about this the other day, but he is a player that you guys see as kind of ascending in his career as a player who could eventually, although he hasn't done it yet, push for NHL opportunities if everything kind of works out for him.
Absolutely, he's quite young right now still, and but he's big and he plays kind of a mature game. So you kind of look at him and you think he's a little bit older than he actually is. So to me, I look at Cole as a prospect, and he came into this organization, and he's a right shot, which is an advantage. He's physical and strong and everything else. He's kind of has a mature game and a very welcome addition to us.
Let's talk about some of the prospects that are officially joining the fold this year. Quentin Musty last year, kind of an interesting season. Dealt with an injury, requested a trade from his junior team. This year, he had a good rookie camp last season. This year, another good one, but he carried it into main camp as well and really seemed to open some eyes. What do you guys like about what Quentin was able to accomplish in his first NHL training camp? That was a camp in which he was competing for a professional job.
Well, I think the fact that he just listened to everything and took it to heart, practiced it, and kind of made a step. These guys get a lot thrown at them. Get drafted at 18 years old. We have a great development team led by Todd Marchant. We have Tommy Wingles and Lucas Spies who go around to these guys and watch them in juniors and college and tell them, you need to work on this and to get to the next level. And they took it to heart. Like they worked very hard with Quentin to talk about things that he needed to get ready for pro, and and he worked very hard this summer. Came in, and you could see the evolution.
What are those things that you guys wanted him to really focus on, make an emphasis certain parts of his game? What were those?
I think a lot of it goes to little things you have to do to let the pro coaches trust you. I mean, you're out against great players in both the American League and the NHL, and you have to be solid. You have to be able to defend them. You have to be ready for them, and it's things like that. So that and consistency. So just the little nuances of the game and consistency. Talent. He's got talent all day long, so you just have to add the other things to it.
Well, speaking of talent, another guy who Sharks fans are excited about is Igor Chernyshov. You can't teach size, he's got it. He's just 19 years of age, but he looks physically like he could handle the NHL. What do you want to see from him as he embarks on his professional career in North America in the AHL?
I think with him, it's just more, honestly, miles on the odometer because he got hurt right after he got drafted last year, wasn't really able to participate in training camp, wasn't able really to come back and play in juniors until January. So he got partial season, got a little bit of playoffs in the American League. So he just doesn't have that much hockey. He just, for him, it's really the experience of just playing every night, getting used to it. I think he's going to be a quick study, and, he's a big, strong guy. So I think, that'll help him along the way. So, he'll have some assets that work great in the American League.
Well, how cool was it for the organization to maybe see a glimpse into the future because he was a line mate with Michael Misa last year in Saginaw?
Yeah, they were electric last year. I remember when he first came back and Misa was all excited because there were some games where they're each like 3-4 points and they both went on a tear in the league. The team went on a tear. They're both high-end players, and that's we're starting, as you said, starting to see some of the young talent come in, and excited about having both of those guys.
Well, there's so many names to go down the list from a prospect standpoint. Another big winger, Kasper Haltman, won a Memorial Cup last year. He finished the job. Him and Sam Dickinson, they made it to the final, but Braden Hachey and the Spirit got him the year before. They did the job this year. They finished the job. He completes his junior career on top. A lot of tools there as well. He can obviously rip the puck. We saw that in the American League in his short stint last year. He's going to start in the AHL this year. What do you guys want to see from him as he evolves at this level as well?
Well, I think like a lot of the other young talent, the talent's actually there, and he just needs to probably catch up with the speed of the game a little bit and the little plays that you need to make, again, for the coaches to say, well, I'm not stuck putting him out here, but I can put him out in all kinds of different situations. So again, it's just really the experience. It's, going through that's why practices are so important in this league, that, they could just keep working on little things, add that to their game. And now it's not just on power plays. It's not just on, offensively favorable situations, but you can play them at all times.
Well, there's been a familiar face on the ice during training camp for the Barracuda. He has a beard. He's pretty tall, pretty well known among Sharks fans. Joe Thornton now officially part of the organization. To have him on the ice working with these guys on a daily basis, I mean, how incredible is that for these players?
Oh, it's huge. We're so fortunate to have our alumni around town and really, participating in everything between Joe and we have Reach and Nabby out there all the time too. And so besides the coaches, they just have guys with the experience, the NHL experience and life experience that they can go to sometimes just informally and get a tip or two about little things they can make and all the young talent they gravitate to Jumbo to talk about things that only high-end talented guys know.
Well, we're recording this interview before the Sharks have officially set their opening night roster. So reinforcements are expected to continue to trickle down to the American Hockey League. So I want to touch on a couple of more guys who are currently with the CUDA. Matthias Havelin, second-round draft pick. You talk about these prospects because there's so many, some almost feel forgotten about. And he was over in Europe. It took a while for him to sign. He's over here now. We've seen some glimpses in the rookie tournament in preseason AHL and NHL action. He can really scoot, see some of the skills that I think the organization thought was intriguing. What do you want to see from him as he finally makes his way across the pond to San Jose?
Well, I think the thing with Matthias that we really like is he's got a pretty balanced game. He played in the top league over in Sweden, played in the World Junior Championships, and he's not just a one-trick pony with offense. He's defensively sound. He really understands the complete role of playing defense. So I think with him, again, it's the experience, playing against bigger, stronger players, playing at a quicker pace, everything else. But I think he'll be a very nice addition to us, and he'll give us a little bit of offense from the right side.
And how about Cam Lund, another player we saw last year at the end of his junior season of college, joining the Sharks, and I thought acquitted himself quite well. He's big, he can skate, another second-round pick. Tell us about this player.
I think with Cam, it's his speed. You notice right away he can get anywhere on the ice. He can catch up to people and everything else. So Cam's a great skater. He's very strong, and he cares really about playing in all kinds of different situations. And he has talent. Again, it's a big jump from Northeastern, kind of coming in. He got a little taste at the NHL at the end of last year, but it's just working on the little subtleties and things like that of his game. But, it shouldn't really take him all that long to start making improvements in different areas of his pro game.
Well, that's a list of prospects, and there are more and more and more to expected to join this team. But let's dive into some of the veteran players joining your group this year who are expected to play predominantly in the AHL. We can start with Jimmy Huntington. Just 2 games last year, he tore his ACL out for the remainder of the year, but he was playing his best hockey the year before, part of a Hershey team that went to the Calder Cup and won a championship, and he was dynamic during the postseason. There's a little bit of a connection. You guys tried to recruit him at a junior as well. He ultimately didn't sign with the organization, but you signed him now. But what are you getting in this player in Jimmy Huntington?
I think a player who's persevered. He's always had the talent, but I think when Jimmy came in, it's been a little bit of a slow go because he wasn't able just to rely on his offense, and so he had to learn other parts of the game, and he does. He's really an inside player. He cares about defense, and playing on he has some natural leadership kind of by example of how he plays. And, being around Hershey, being around a really good Calder Cup winning team, that really pays off.
And how about Sam LeBerge? A couple of games in the NHL 2 years ago with New Jersey. He's tough, he's big, another guy who has had to kind of work for everything he's gotten in his pro career.
He's a lot like Vinny, a lot like Van Roboys, and just wear their heart on the sleeve. He is a relentless, forechecker. Just aggressive player who keeps everybody else honest on the ice. He's tough, and just to have that this type of players you kind of want to have on your side. You get into grittier games and everything like that. So we always noticed him. Our scouts noticed him a lot in games where he was making a difference by his energy, by his the grit and everything else.
A lot of top prospects joining the fold. A former top prospect also joining your AHL group in Oliver Wahlstrom, 11th overall pick by New York several years ago. He's got a ton of skill. He's played predominantly in the NHL. You signed him late in the summer and in the offseason to an AHL contract. What made Oliver a player that you thought would be a nice piece in addition to your group?
Well, I think just the opportunity here that he can play in the American League and earn his way back to the NHL, which he should do. I mean, he's so skilled and talented and everything else, and he has quite a few NHL games under his belt. So it's just kind of working his way back. And we could be the beneficiary of that. He's incredibly talented. He's got a NHL type shot. And we saw in Adam Gaudette a similar path. Played in the NHL for a while, and then didn't get a contract. Backed up, played in the American League for a few years, and tore up the American League, and he's back in the NHL. And there's no reason why Wallstrom in a perfect situation could do the same. Come to the American League, find your game a little bit, and go back.
Is that something that the organization finds at the very least impressive? Is a player who, like a Gaudette, had to go back to the AHL and really grind his way back to the NHL, not give up on the dream, not go over to Europe per se, stick it out, try to get to the NHL, and then last year you see him get rewarded. Is that something that, as an organization, you respect? Because that takes a lot for a player to do.
It sure does, the perseverance, and it sets an example for the young players. Nothing is easy, nothing is given, and we have to set that, especially with young talent. They have to they come in. Everything's been easy in juniors and college, and they come into here. It's a little tougher. Now they see these other guys that, wow, Oliver Wallstrom was 11th overall, but you know what? It can get tough for him too, and he has to climb back on here. So it sets really a great example.
And just a couple more for you. Other additions joining this group, former first-round picks and Shane Bowers and Oscar Olauzen. Bowers coming from New Jersey's organization in the Thomas Bordeleau trade. Olauzen coming from Colorado in the Daniil Gushtin trade. Fresh starts for these players who do have talent. There's a reason why they were drafted where they were, and now they get an opportunity in San Jose to get fresh eyeballs on them.
Yeah, absolutely. Those two deals, including Bordeleau and Gushkin, were just kind of fresh start trades for both players. It's just it kind of got a little dry in our organization for those guys, and same with the guys coming in. So able to come in, fresh environment, fresh opportunity, everything else. Kind of high picks, higher profile players, and sideways deals. So we're excited to have both of them. A little bit different element. I mean, Olsen's highly talented. You'll see that right away. His shootout winner last night got a great shot and everything else. A first round type player. So it's just a new time for him. And then Bowers. He has a lot of different parts of his game, so he's a guy that could probably go up and down your lineup a little bit more. So it's just exciting to give some other guys opportunities.
And how do you see the goalie position playing out? You brought in Skarek, who was in New York's organization with the Islanders. Of course, Gabe Carrier is back and I think opened some eyes last year. And you brought in Matt Davis, who is a two-time national champion at Denver. How do you see that kind of trio of goalies shaking out this year?
What I like is there's great internal competition. I mean, there is really at all of our positions, but at the goaltending position with the three players, and somebody's probably going to have to go to Wichita and play for a while, that's part of the plan, because you can only get so many starts. We can only play one goalie here, and so we need guys to be able to play a little bit more. You saw last year Gabe Carrier went to Wichita and was able to play quite a few games, and he was ECHL goalie of the month and everything else. Then that really prepared him in the second half of the season for the American League. And so somebody's going to end up there, but right now I think they all had a really above average camp. Happy with all those, much like Nedeljkovic and Askarov up top. I feel our goaltending solid all the way through.
I know the Sharks have a plan and a goal this year of being a team that plays with a pressure, in a sense, always pressuring the puck, being constant in terms of their relentlessness. Is that kind of the hope too, the Barracuda take on that same identity where when teams come into Tech CU or even on the road, they know they're in for a fight, a team that's going to be on top of them all night long?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's that's something that anytime you play like that too, is you can really win at all levels. It's something that Ryan Warsofsky and Mike Greer put in place, for the organization. It starts with the NHL, but we try and do the same in the American League, and maybe switch a few things around just because of the subtleties of the two leagues, but not very much. We try and stick with similar identities, similar systems, everything else with both clubs, and and ours is based on just being kind of a aggressive, honest hockey, and something that will work with talent that we have bringing in and or coming in, and just matching everything, the future of the organization.
Well, Joe, this was great. Great insight on the upcoming season. Should be a ton of fun. We're expecting some great crowds, an awesome promotional schedule. We can tip our cap to James Collins and his entire crew as well, our VP. But Joe, thank you for the insight. Looking forward to the upcoming year, and we appreciate the time.
Can't wait. Glad to be back.